The glittering facade of Elite Motors, London's most exclusive car dealership, shimmered in the morning sun. Through the panoramic windows, gleaming Aston Martins, Rolls-Royces, and bespoke Bentleys stood on display, each one a testament to exorbitant luxury. Eleanor Vance, for friends simply Ellie, entered the showroom with a quiet confidence. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her outfit was understated: a simple white t-shirt, well-worn jeans, and scuffed sneakers. Yet, beneath her unassuming attire lay a woman of immense strength and self-reliance. At 38, she hadn't just built a global tech empire from scratch but had also established the Future Innovators Foundation, providing scholarships and mentorship to thousands of underprivileged youth. She'd built it all with her keen intellect, unwavering dedication, and a relentless passion for empowering the next generation. Today, she sought a special gift: a custom-built Rolls-Royce Phantom for her mentor, Professor Alistair Finch, who was celebrating his 70th birthday and a triumphant recovery from a critical illness. Ellie wanted to show him how much his guidance and belief in her meant. Across the showroom, sales director Mr. Arthur Sterling adjusted his silk tie. Spotting Ellie, he chuckled, muttering something to his colleagues. "This should be entertaining," he whispered. A young salesman, Liam O'Connell, approached her with a hesitant smile. "Good morning, welcome to Elite Motors. I'm Liam. Is there a particular model you're interested in?" Before Ellie could reply, Mr. Sterling intervened. "I'll handle this," he said coolly. Then, turning to Ellie with a forced smile, he asked, "Are you looking for directions, madam?" "Actually, I'm interested in that bespoke Phantom over there," Ellie said calmly, pointing to a £480,000 limited edition model. Mr. Sterling's smile thinned. He recognized this type of customer: dreamers who wandered in with no intention or means of buying. "Ah, the Silver Shadow Phantom," he explained in an overly condescending tone. "Only 10 of those were ever made. Perhaps I could direct you to our pre-owned section, about 3 blocks east." Ellie noticed his eyes scanning her simple clothes, lingering on her worn sneakers. But she was accustomed to such judgments. She had deliberately chosen this unpretentious lifestyle, despite her immense wealth. "I'd like to know more about the Silver Shadow," she said pleasantly. "Would it be possible to see the interior, Mr.?" Sterling's eyes narrowed. 2 colleagues behind him exchanged amused glances. "The Silver Shadow is by appointment only," he lied. "Our serious clients typically arrange private viewings." Just then, an impeccably dressed couple entered the dealership. Mr. Sterling's demeanor instantly shifted. "Please excuse me," he said to Ellie, without a second glance. "Perhaps a brochure would suffice? Liam can assist you." He strode towards the couple, arms outstretched, greeting them with exaggerated warmth. "Mr. and Mrs. Albright, wonderful to see you again." Liam approached Ellie, looking embarrassed. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "Would you still like me to tell you about the Silver Shadow?" Ellie nodded gratefully. "That would be very kind." Liam, barely 25, in an ill-fitting suit, looked apologetic. "I really am sorry," he said quietly. "Would you still like to know about the Silver Shadow?" "Very much," Ellie replied kindly. As Liam enthusiastically explained the technical specifications, Ellie noticed Mr. Sterling leading the designer-clad couple directly to the Silver Shadow. With a grand gesture, he opened the driver's door, inviting Mrs. Albright to sit inside, the very car supposedly available by appointment only. "It's quite all right," Ellie said softly to a visibly flustered Liam. "I understand how these things work." At the other end of the showroom, Mr. Sterling began a perfectly rehearsed sales pitch. "This model has an 8-month waiting list," he announced proudly, "but for special clients, I've reserved one." Mrs. Albright ran her hand admiringly over the exquisite leather. "It's magnificent, but I'm not entirely sure about the color." "We can certainly discuss custom paintwork," Sterling replied smoothly. Ellie moved closer, maintaining a polite distance but speaking loud enough to be heard. "Excuse me, I was wondering if this model was available for purchase." Sterling's face tightened. As I already said, this vehicle is currently being shown to these esteemed clients, he retorted with thinly veiled irritation. Perhaps you could come back another time or, as mentioned, visit our pre-owned department. The couple exchanged uncomfortable glances between Ellie and Sterling. I am specifically interested in this vehicle, Ellie explained calmly. It's a gift for my mentor's birthday next month. Sterling stepped away from the Albrights and lowered his voice. Look, I understand people like to dream, but this is a business. This vehicle costs more than an average family home. Customers nearby had noticed the conversation and were now watching intently. Liam stood nervously at the edge of the crowd. I'm prepared to pay cash today, Ellie said quietly, without losing her composure. Sterling's facade finally crumbled. He let out a short, sharp laugh that echoed through the showroom. Heads turned. Cash? Really? His voice grew louder, deliberately demeaning. This isn't a flea market. We're talking about almost £500,000. People who can afford something like this don't usually look like. He cast a disdainful glance at her modest outfit. Ellie felt her cheeks flush, not with shame, but with rising anger, not for herself, as she was used to such treatment, but for everyone who was judged prematurely based on their appearance. I believe my money is worth as much as anyone else's, she said softly. Sterling stepped closer, towering over her. Let me be very clear. You are wasting my time and making a mockery of yourself. Either you make an appointment, come back dressed appropriately, or please leave our premises immediately. The showroom fell silent. The Albrights had moved away from the car, looking uneasy. Is there a problem here? A new voice cut in. The owner of the dealership, Mr. Edward Harrington, had been drawn to the commotion. Sterling hastily straightened up, tugging at his tie. No problem, Mr. Harrington. I'm just explaining to this lady that we operate strictly by appointment for serious inquiries, Mr. Harrington quickly assessed the situation, taking in Ellie's simple appearance and the tense expressions of the onlookers. His face betrayed whose side he was on. I see, he said. Vance, Ellie added calmly. Eleanor Vance. Miss Vance, Mr. Harrington began, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Our clientele typically understands the exclusive nature of our vehicles. I understand perfectly, Ellie replied with a steady voice, though her heart burned with humiliation. Your sales director has made your philosophy very clear to me. Sterling stepped forward again, his tone overly dramatic. If you are truly interested, which I doubt, then make an appointment. Please bring proof of your financial capability, and present yourself appropriately. These vehicles, he gestured around, are intended for a certain class of people. A quiet murmur went through the crowd. Someone chuckled faintly. Ellie looked around at the judgmental stares, at Sterling's arrogant expression, at the managing director's silent acquiescence. She had experienced many forms of discrimination, but rarely so openly and publicly. I understand, she said quietly, head held high but inwardly wounded. She turned and walked towards the door. Behind her, she heard Sterling's voice, just loud enough. Some people just don't know their place. As Ellie stepped through the glass doors into the bright morning light, she pulled out her phone. The humiliation still burned deep within her, yet a determined, almost imperceptible smile played on her lips. With a steady hand, she dialed a number. The Vance family estate sprawled across vast grounds in the Surrey countryside, understated elegance that gave no hint of its owner's multi-billion-pound fortune. Dr. Marcus Vance, 42, a visionary in sustainable energy solutions, had built his wealth quietly, deliberately avoiding media fanfare or outward ostentation. When Ellie entered his study, Marcus immediately set aside his papers. 15 years of marriage had taught him to read her expressions with absolute accuracy. Something was wrong. What happened? He asked, instantly moving to her side. Ellie sank into the leather armchair, the morning's events washing over her again. It was enlightening, she said with a strained smile that didn't reach her eyes. She recounted the situation at the dealership, the arrogance, the blatant condescension, the overt discrimination. As she spoke, Marcus's expression darkened, but he didn't interrupt, giving her space. It's not about me, Ellie concluded. I have the privilege of knowing who I am and what I can afford. But how many people experience this every day, without the inner certainty that they truly possess the worth they are denied? Marcus nodded slowly. What he had always admired most about Ellie was her ability to think of others even when she herself had been hurt. What do you want to do? He finally asked. Part of me wants to do nothing, she admitted. Buy the car elsewhere, get the gift sorted, move on. But then I think of that young salesman, Liam. He was respectful despite my appearance. And I think of all the people who never have a voice to push back. She looked him directly in the eye. These people need to understand that value isn't about appearances. But I don't want revenge. I want to create awareness. Marcus's eyes glinted. A plan began to form. I think I have an idea that could achieve both. Nothing over the top, Ellie warned immediately, her voice lovingly stern. No buying out the dealership and firing everyone, Marcus laughed. I'm not that cliché, but a little education couldn't hurt. Together, they hatched a plan, not a revenge plot, but a lesson. Something that would shift perspectives, more sustainable than any punishment. Are you sure you don't want to come? Marcus asked at the end. Ellie shook her head. This isn't about me needing satisfaction. It's about them learning to see beyond the obvious. She smiled faintly. But I expect a full report. As evening fell over the estate, Marcus picked up the phone and began making preparations for the next day. Tomorrow, an important lesson in humility and prejudice would be taught, not just for Mr. Sterling, but for Elite Motors as a whole. The next morning, London shimmered beautifully, with clear skies and golden sunshine. Mr. Arthur Sterling entered Elite Motors with a confident stride, his blue tie perfectly knotted. The episode with the poorly dressed woman had already become an anecdote he'd shared over a glass of wine with colleagues last night, just another dreamer who thought she belonged in the world of luxury. The showroom sparkled in the light, the cars perfectly positioned for maximum impact. Sterling had just finished the morning sales briefing. Remember, he'd stressed, our time is precious. We cater to a specific clientele. This isn't elitism, it's efficiency. Liam, the young salesman, had been unusually quiet during the meeting. Sterling made a mental note to speak with him later about client identification. At precisely 10:17 a.m., an unusually soft engine hum drew everyone's attention outside. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a vehicle unlike any they usually saw pulled up directly in front of the main entrance. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even Mr. Sterling, rarely impressed by his daily proximity to luxury cars, felt his pulse quicken. It was an extended wheelbase Maybach, but not just any Maybach. This model was a custom commission with a midnight blue metallic paint that seemed to shift color like liquid in the sunlight. Even conservative estimates would place its value at over £1.2 million. As that, Mr. Edward Harrington, the dealership owner, had emerged from his office, drawn by the sudden silence. A Maybach Special Edition, Sterling confirmed, moving swiftly toward the entrance. A uniformed chauffeur stepped out and circled the vehicle to open the rear door with perfect precision. Out stepped a man of impressive presence, tall, elegant, in a perfectly tailored suit that hinted at its price rather than flaunting it. His silver-gray hair was meticulously styled, his posture radiating effortless authority. Sterling's sales instincts kicked in immediately. This was more than just a good customer. This was the type of client for whom dealerships built not just individual sales, but long-term relationships. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Elite Motors, Sterling exclaimed, quickly stepping ahead of his colleagues before anyone else could speak. Arthur Sterling, sales director. It's an honor to welcome you. The man regarded him with an unreadable expression before smiling faintly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Marcus Vance, he said simply, extending a hand. Sterling's mind raced. The name sounded familiar, but he couldn't immediately place it. The Maybach, however, spoke volumes. This was a man of significant wealth. Mr. Vance, it truly is an honor. What brings you to us today? May I show you our newest models? We've just received a limited edition. Marcus subtly raised a hand, immediately halting Sterling's well-practiced sales pitch. Actually, I'm here about a specific model. The Silver Shadow Phantom in midnight blue. Sterling's smile broadened. Excellent choice, Mr. Vance. Only 10 were produced this year. I'd be delighted to show it to you. It's right. I know where it is, Marcus interrupted calmly. My wife was here yesterday and expressed interest in that very car. Sterling's professional smile remained, but a flicker of confusion crossed his face. Your wife? I don't recall. Perhaps she was assisted by one of my colleagues? His face noticeably cooled. No, Mr. Sterling, you assisted her. Or rather, dismissed her. Eleanor Vance. She was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt. You suggested she might be better off in the pre-owned section. The color drained from Sterling's face. Behind him, Liam, who had been following the conversation, let out an audible gasp. Mr. Vance, Sterling stammered, his usually confident voice failing him. That must have been a misunderstanding. We welcome all clients. By now, Edward Harrington had joined them, sensing the tense atmosphere. Is there a problem? He asked. Marcus now turned to him. Mr. Harrington, I presume? Yes, correct? Edward Harrington. Welcome to Elite Motors, thank you. I was just explaining to Mr. Sterling that my wife was here yesterday, interested in the Silver Shadow Phantom as a gift for her mentor, but she was treated in a manner I find quite concerning. Harrington's expression shifted from cordial host to serious. I'm sorry to hear that. I believe I was briefly engaged in a conversation, but I wasn't privy to all the details. The details include, Marcus countered, that your sales director suggested my wife did not belong in a place like this, based on her attire. By now, a small crowd had gathered, other sales staff, employees, and even early customers. The showroom was silent. Mr. Vance, if there was a misunderstanding, Sterling began, his tone desperate. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Liam suddenly interjected. All eyes turned to the young salesman, who seemed surprised by his own courage. Mrs. Vance was treated disrespectfully. She was polite, interested, and specific in her inquiry, but she was repeatedly dismissed solely because of her appearance. Sterling shot Liam a withering glare, but it was too late, the damage was done. Marcus turned back to Edward Harrington. You know what's interesting? My wife founded and still passionately leads the Future Innovators Foundation for underprivileged youth. This work began long before our marriage. She has already raised over £50 million for special educational programs and mentorship opportunities. He paused briefly, letting the words sink in. Ellie intentionally dresses simply because she believes in living modestly, despite our wealth. It helps her connect on an equal footing with the families she helps. That's just one of many reasons why I love her so much. Edward Harrington had gone ashen. Mr. Vance, I assure you that this does not reflect the values of our establishment. We pride ourselves on, actions speak louder than mission statements, Mr. Harrington, Marcus interrupted decisively. Regarding the Silver Shadow, I'm not just here to buy that one vehicle. Sterling's head twitched slightly, a tiny spark of hope in his otherwise horrified expression. Actually, the plan was to purchase the Silver Shadow as a gift for my wife's mentor, as she intended, Marcus continued, but I'm also considering renewing our corporate fleet, 7 vehicles in total. And my private collection could also use an update. Harrington's eyes widened. A deal of this magnitude would meet all quarterly targets in one go. But Marcus added coolly, however, I'm now wondering if this is the right establishment for such a significant investment. Absolute silence filled the showroom. Sterling looked like he was about to be sick. Mr. Vance, Harrington began desperately, I can only sincerely apologize for this regrettable incident. It in no way aligns with our business ethos. Please, give us a chance to make amends. Marcus considered for a moment, then nodded. Perhaps there is indeed a way forward, he finally said. But it goes beyond car sales. Anything you wish. Harrington said eagerly. The Future Innovators Foundation is hosting a charity gala next month. We're raising funds for a new innovation lab for disadvantaged students. He looked directly at Sterling. I think your presence there would be Enlightening, Sterling swallowed hard. Not as a guest, Marcus clarified. As a volunteer helper. Setting up, assisting the students. So you can see what it's really about. The message was clear. This was no longer about business, but about learning a fundamental value. Furthermore, Marcus continued, now turning back to Harrington, it would be advisable to implement an internal training program on unconscious bias. I know some excellent consultants. Harrington nodded eagerly. Absolutely, we would welcome that. As for the vehicles. Marcus turned to Liam. I want you to prepare all the paperwork, starting with the Silver Shadow, for my wife's mentor. Liam's eyes widened. I thank you, Mr. Vance. It would be an honor. Good, Marcus said emphatically. Then let's discuss the corporate fleet. As they walked towards Harrington's office, Marcus paused for a moment in front of the Silver Shadow, running his hand over its sleek contour. My wife truly has excellent taste, doesn't she? Behind them, Sterling stood frozen. His perfect world had crumbled. The bitter truth was now irreversible. His true character wasn't shown by how he treated important clients, but by how he treated people he deemed unimportant. A month later, the Grand Hotel London had transformed into a place of hope. The Future Innovators Foundation's charity gala was a celebration of opportunity. Children with diverse needs and their families mingled with educators, donors, and supporters. Near the entrance stood Arthur Sterling, not in a designer suit, but in the uniform of the event staff. He greeted guests, helped a young boy in a wheelchair through the door. The past month had changed him. His work with the foundation had begun as an obligation, the price for his professional survival, but something had happened. He had seen the challenges these children faced, and their dignity. Across the room, Eleanor Vance approached him, elegant in a simple blue dress. Even knowing who she was now, her humility and genuine nature impressed him anew. And how are you finding the experience, Mr. Sterling? She asked kindly. He paused, then replied, humbling. And necessary. Ellie nodded. Thomas seems to have taken to you, she observed, glancing at the boy in the wheelchair. He's teaching me wheelchair basketball, Sterling replied with a faint smile. Apparently, my ball control is catastrophic. This made Ellie laugh, genuinely and warmly. He's an honest coach. Sterling's expression grew serious. Mrs. Vance, I know I've already formally apologized, but I want to say it personally. I am truly sorry for how I treated you. There's no excuse for it, you're right, Ellie said quietly, without bitterness. The only question is, what have you learned from it? That value isn't determined by appearance, position, or possessions, Sterling said thoughtfully. And that everyone deserves respect until they show they don't deserve it, not the other way around. Good lessons, Ellie said. Expensive ones, I imagine. Sterling nodded with a wry smile, thinking of how much business Elite Motors had lost when Marcus decided to only buy the Silver Shadow, and not the entire corporate fleet. Worth every penny, he said honestly. Across the room, Marcus approached them, placing a hand on Ellie's shoulder. Sterling has just shared some of his insights with me, Ellie explained. Marcus nodded. I hear you're now heavily involved in adaptive sports programs for children. Yes, Mr. Vance. In fact, I've decided to continue beyond the required time, voluntarily, Sterling said hesitantly. And I'm working with Mr. Harrington on a new client concept for the dealership. No more categorization based on appearances. I'm pleased to hear that, Marcus said, then added with a small smile, which reminds me, that corporate fleet I mentioned? We're still interested. Perhaps you'd like to oversee the process? Liam spoke very highly of your mentorship.